So let's get started. So it's my great pleasure to welcome you in the name of CercleS to this event. It's a special event, and I have been looking forward to it quite for a while. You are going to attend to and discuss with colleagues and attend to an experience of diverse possibilities of international cooperation. And this workshop is about best practices on COIL formats, and it is one of the ways to implement what the CercleS Policy Paper applied is suggesting. And I'm very happy to see colleagues from different countries who will present and will attend. I'm now glad to hand over to Ruth Tobias, who is going to open the workshop and introduce the program and the presenters. And Ruth Tobias was also a member of this policy paper working group. And thank you already, Ruth, for putting together this interesting program.
Yeah, thank you very much, Sabine, for your kind word of introduction. So hello, everybody, also from my side. The moment in Berlin, I would like to start sharing the presentation. We have a short presentation prepared for you. As Sabina already said, we called it CercleS Policy Paper Applied, and we put together a number of projects linked by this idea of COIL format. Just very briefly, from the policy paper, we have the policy paper PowerPoint 3. Or part 3 was dealing with new possibilities of international cooperation, and this policy paper came out of a survey we ran with Sabina as the organizer and the principal person who put this in practice in 2021 and 2022. And so we collected new forms of interacting, having come up within the pandemic. And we found, as you see, the new quality of international academic relations. We found joint online modules, including virtual classrooms. I think that's one of the points we will be talking about today. And the other one is joint and blended intercultural competence classes. So these are the two main points linking what we want to do today. A very brief glance at the schedule. So basically, we will talk about 3 projects. We will have 3 presentations. The first one is the DACADU, I hope I pronounced it well, DACADU project from the University of Applied Sciences of Darmstadt and a lot of other universities. Then we have Interface, Intercultural Proficiency and Oral Competence in English from the University of Potsdam, and your colleague from Israel will explain and pronounce it right, the name of the Israeli institution. And then as a last project, what do you mean experiencing cultural perspectives through a language, a joint online course between Hebrew and German from the Freie Universität Berlin and the Hebrew University of Jerusalem. We will take 20 minutes each, and then we will have a discussion time about 25 to 30 minutes, and we will go into breakout rooms, but the breakout rooms are not fixed at the project, so to say, but they are open because we want to discuss COIL formats, and taking the perspectives of all the projects. So therefore, we've chosen the rooms also according to an open perspective and an open approach, so that everybody from our projects can be in different groups and can join and answer your questions. Then we want to have a report from the breakout rooms, because that's also very important to see what you want to know and what you can imagine how this can go on. And then Sabina will do the wrapping up and the next steps. Then I think we are already at the point to be able to start with the first project, DACADU. And you see there are a lot of project partners. You have the website to present us, and I will already hand it over to Stephanie and Sabine, who will present. I'm just stopping my presentation.
Okay, this was quick.
I'm sorry, I'm always talking too fast, I know.
No. So can you hear me? Everything all right? Okay, so very warm welcome from Darmstadt. My name is Sabine Kasten. I'm gonna start today. So we would like to show you some of our experiences in the last 2 years, and you will very quickly see it's very hands-on and bottom-up. There's not too much theory involved. It's really about the experience. What we've done with Dakadu, nobody knows how to pronounce it, to be honest, is we did a blended mobility. So we had first a virtual learning phase with some of our partners, and then they came in both years to Darmstadt to visit us. And I would like to start to position the project in the strategic concept of Hochschule Darmstadt. There was a lot of change in the last 2 years, and I thought maybe that's interesting for you. We are a University of Applied Science. We are located in southern Hesse, close to Frankfurt Airport, which is convenient. We are like a bigger University of Applied Science, around 15,000 students in 12 faculties. And traditionally, these applied science universities have mostly engineering degrees. And in our case, we merged almost 20 years ago with another university with a strong focus on media. So we have a media campus, which is also contributes to our project. Of course, we have a traditional focus on practical training, do some applied research. We are granted the right to hand out doctoral degrees for sustainability, applied computer science and social work. And we joined the European Alliance EOT Plus in 2020. Our president and institution is really willing to become a transnational European university. So we really want to become a transnational institution with, so maybe that's enough. Therefore, the language center, the role of the language center has changed tremendously. So we were a service unit for the faculties. I think we have language classes in 7 foreign languages or something for students. So most programs have compulsory classes in English up to a B2 level. The students need a B2 in order to graduate. And then they have to take 1 class in a second language. That's it so far. We have no research in our language center so far. Now in April 2023, we were taken out of the social science faculty and became an independent central unit. My boss directly reports to the president now. And with EOT Plus, we have a claim for research, so we should do some research. We should do more international collaborations, and we have staff as a new target group. And also, besides the language learning, we should do more intercultural learning workshops and so on. So we became an a central player in the internationalization efforts with the international office, of course. And 2 new people were hired. One of them is Stephanie, and there's also one person in the English part. And I can say Stephanie started a lot of projects. First of all, the Dakadu in March 2022. We also did online workshop for staff where they could learn about the other partners. We had our first language conference where we met Ruth again. She was one of our key speakers. And we had in the summertime an online language course for staff. So all the 7 or 8 languages at the Alliance were taught online, which was fascinating. I think we had more than 200 applicants for it who wanted to learn Bulgarian, Romanian, Greek language, French language. And then, since Dakadu was such a success, we did Dakadu again this year. And okay, so I think this slide for you is, you know, all of the stuff, of course. We have the same idea as Erasmus Plus. What is interesting here? Oh yeah, our new aim is now a proficiency in 2 foreign languages. So we have the B2 in English, but also a B1 level in another language, which is a new aim for our institution. Of course, we need more intercultural competence in the institution, and the broader idea of multilingualism and more language proficiency, and of course more student mobility. These are some of the key objectives of our alliance. And in order to reach this, we had this idea to introduce COIL. In our case, blended mobility, which is a subtype of COIL. It's a new mobility option, Erasmus+, and the idea is to reap, I don't know, the benefits of the physical virtual mobility and the actually the physical and the virtual mobility. Okay, so we hope to include more and more diverse people in the experience. So maybe somebody who's not able to pay for half a year in Germany or whatever can come for a week to our campus. And then maybe afterwards has the idea to come longer. Of course, we hope that the students, once they're here, they have more confidence and more intercultural sensitivity. They're better prepared for going abroad. We also had a group of our students involved in the project. So this is this part of internationalization at home. I think differences in the academic calendar, we all know what I'm talking about. It's the idea to overcome it since we have only a short stay and the virtual learning altogether. And overall, we hope to learn a lot to develop our competence and digital skills. Yeah. So what have we done? Now we are more to the practical thing. We did an online session in the spring, approximately 6 weeks, and 1 week in Darmstadt. In the first session, that's where the name comes from, there was Darmstadt, Cartagena, and Dublin involved. And then we have new partners in the second session with Troyes and Limassol. So, and what makes our program also interesting is we started with blogging, and I hope I can show you for one quick moment. Do you see the blog now? No, yeah. Okay, so I have to, I was expecting this. So this was what happened. Okay, now the blog is, you can all see the blog? Okay, so all the, things which were written, which all the pictures were placed on our blog. The blog has 5 languages, so all the core sites translated in English, German, French, Spanish, and Greek, because these were the partners who were involved in the project. We could see we wrote papers, we did some research on the project, and what you can see here are the 2 blogs from the first and the second project, and it takes also a while to open it because there's a lot of data, there are a lot of movies. So let's see. Oh, still running. It's not opening, of course. Okay, so you can check. Oh, no, it's opening. Okay, so you can see these are the new participants who joined the project in October. They presented themselves, and we have a lot of topics we talked about. And the last topic was "Komm an meine Uni," come to my university. So the task for the student was to make advertisement for their university for the others to come. Also, okay, maybe just a quick glance to see that. Let's go back to the presentation. Okay. Okay, this was only the, okay. The Dakar team is quite big. So these were all the lecturers who were involved, and there's Christian, the media student who did the blog for us. Yeah, and that was me, that was my part. So I would hand over to Stephanie now.
Yes, so I continue. Thank you, Sabine. I hope the internet connection is good. I really had some problems between. I don't know, it never comes, but of course at these meetings. So I continue. I thought, okay, then I give again the presentation. I have to open again.
Should I open it, Stephanie?
Yes, would be good. I just can continue then. So I just will come to the Dakado project itself. At first, Dakado 22. So we started our project with the next slide, 6-week online session for students in March and April. There were 20 German language students, 6 from Cartagena, 6 from Dublin, and 6 from Darmstadt, with a different language level from A1 to B1 and different study programs, as well as bachelor and master levels. So not easy to bring all of them together. The project took place in each institution as part of the German courses, so with credit points. So we had German written assignments on intercultural topics as part of the course. As Sabine said, we had a technical support from the HDA blog team. The results were posted on a blog. Weekly, we had topics inspired from the Logbuch Neuland. This is not for students, it's more for integration in Germany, but it was a good idea, inspiring for us just to get some ideas which topics we could use for language learners on a lower level also. So next slide. Then we introduced the weekly assignments in the German class. Afterwards, students did meet each other in small cross-campus multilingual groups via WhatsApp. So 1 or 2 students of each EOT Plus partner were in one group together. So like 4 students in one group. During discussion, students were allowed to use all languages, so English or Spanish. Finally, there were each week written assignments about the intercultural topic in German language. So the topics were about my language experience, first time in Germany, daily student life, diversity in the cities and universities. And the writings were corrected by German teachers again. And then finally, they were on the blog, which was only visible at first for course members. There was different material which we did use, written text, photos, word clouds. We did just see with Sabine together. And we have here some examples of the first session in 22 online session. Das ist Deutschland, that is Germany, was a survey, a very short survey. You can see the different groups. Beer is in every group here, very large, but you see really differences, like Hunde im Restaurant, dogs in the restaurant, from students in Germany already with experience, while other students of Cartagena and Dublin put other points here, like Regen, rain, and so on. So it's a lot which we have videos like group projects. You see here, that was the last final project to give the diversity, show diversity inside the group. And we can come to the next slide. Then we had a long break between. So there was a visit after the summer break. This was not easy to organize, so but we had to get funding, which was not easy for all of them. So finally we had funding, and 4 students could come from each institution. So we had 4 students from Cartagena and 4 from Dublin, together with the German lecturer, Natalia and Catherine, who are also here, and the German students. So the program included 3 work sessions, Wichteln, Market Day, and we discussed about the expectations versus reality. We had interviews about this, walking to a campus tour, and maybe something important also, we gave the students finally certificate, which was signed by the president of the Hochschule Darmstadt, like a Dakado certificate. And besides this, we had an evening program, writing sessions during and after the trip, which you can see again on the blog. And we have one video here, a short video, like 1 minute, 1.5 minutes, which shows some students talking about Dakado using also multi-language, so in different languages. I hope we can open it. If not, I just also can try. So right now my screen is not opening, therefore I cannot.
No, me neither, Stephanie.
Okay.
So.
Good, then maybe at the end there is a chance, or later in the breakout session, so we can continue, but it's really nice, or you can see it yourself also later on. If you see and look on the blog, it's open and public. So we did evaluate the session, both online and the visit in Darmstadt. So the project was evaluated by the students. We had written surveys which were carried out in May and November 22. Nearly all students took part, and we have here an overview of the items which we did ask for. Most of them were quantitative, so like 5 scale, which we did use, 5-point scale, and some were also questions with verbal answers. And we can only give a very brief overview of the results here. So the language was really interesting. So overall, we found that the students spoke 20 languages, which are shown here. The larger the number, the more students speak them. And for conversations in the Dakado project, a mix of German, English, and Spanish was used, which reflects the importance of multilingualism. Then we also have here a very short overview about the motivation. Of course, a visit in Darmstadt was very important, but also the role of the teacher was always very important. The encouragement helped a lot. Almost all students stated in the survey that they improved their German language and expanded their intercultural competence. All enjoyed the blog, but they also did report about problems to meet their student group during the online session, which they had to do alone. This was one problem, which we know and we fixed maybe later on. The teachers reported in interviews about the enthusiasm about students' contributions. They observed new ways of learning and teaching. They observed multilingualism and interculturality. And there was really an enthusiasm about working together. So there was a very strong connection within EUT+. So very short about the session 2. So we got a very positive feedback in 22. And because of these good results in the evaluation and on the blog, plus the interest of other EUT+ partners, we started then a new session in March 23, Dakado Plus. France and Cyprus joined. TU Dublin did not have enough students in German, so they took a break, and while Cartagena and Darmstadt continued. A challenge was the lower language level. We had mostly A1 level this time. Then the number of students, we had online around 35 students, so a much higher number than before. So we had to adjust the program, and we had a stronger focus on multimedia and visual components and multi-language. So also this session we did evaluate, and there was again the summer break. Because of the interest of EUT+ partners, we started in March again, which in long term we would not recommend to do this. So it would be better to start in September, but still we could organize a visit again in October. This time we realized in 22 and also in the online session in 23 that many students at the EOT Plus from the EOT Plus partners were of foreign origin. So therefore our new topic was plurilingual and multicultural cities. So each group prepared a contribution about the city on this topic and presented it in Darmstadt, which was really nice. It included pictures, signs, photos, and videos. And on the program also maybe, yes, so we have had again a high number, 32 students came. A German student assistant, we got funding finally after this positive feedback. We had for coordination one more, a German student assistant, which did in the program also, he did the evening program with students. This was also a success to be together under students. And beside, we listed the program here. So there was again an attending of German language class, intercultural city walks through Darmstadt. New was a video editing workshop on the media campus about plurilingual and multicultural cities, MIDA CADU Plus journeys. So each student group did an own video for the blog also in this session from the photos which they just did make 1 or 2 days before. So they created their own video with the support of the media department. We had a tour to Frankfurt also, but the students said finally they enjoyed much more Darmstadt. So, and a project on the marketplace. Meet the Germans. Here they said, oh, we didn't meet so many Germans. We meet much more international people. Finally, again, there was an evaluation with students and lecturers.
And Steffi, sorry to interrupt you, but you're already 2 minutes over the time.
Okay, so I finish also. I will hand over. You see here only some examples. So maybe we can come in the breakout session to that. It's just some.
That's the conclusion.
Yes.
So yeah, maybe I should wrap it up, Stephanie. Then
yes.
Yeah. So
very briefly because that's.
Yeah, exactly. Sorry for that. Yeah, also we met so we're very happy with the project overall. We had a positive impact on the students. We learned a lot also with the digital skills, and we met the goals of our institution. It was easy for us to find partners. We found culture a very rewarding topic because we have these students, mostly engineering students, as I said before. We found blogging a very good thing. Yeah, and then we recommend a few things. Get help on campus. Yeah. Okay, then that's our just get started and enjoy the ride. This was maybe the last point we want to say. We have a 1-minute video, but since we are over time, we will maybe see it later. Okay, thanks a lot.
Yeah, thank you very much. It's not hearable, unfortunately, like it was in a class. And well, I tried to say anyway for the time. I write it in the chat. I know when you're presenting, you're not looking in the chat, but please be aware of the time. Okay, thank you very much. So we're coming to the next project. No, I see clapping hands. Very good, very interesting. And I would already hand over to David and to Karen to present our next project.
Okay, so thank you very much for attending this webinar. Karen and I are very glad to be able to share some insights into our project, Intercultural Proficiency in Oral Competence Interface. This project we've been working on for several years, and we have some interesting insights, I think, to share with you about our work together. We've set up our presentation along the lines of the leading questions for this webinar. We're going to be focusing primarily on the factors that we think have contributed to this project's success, and probably more for the breakout rooms and for general discussion, how this can be integrated into the internationalization strategy of a higher education institution. We do touch upon this. And this is the tricky question, which descriptors of these best practices would be best suited for a module framework. Well, that's something probably for larger discussion. So I'll hand this over to Karen.
Hi, everyone. Thank you, David. So, these are some of the goals. You can look and see that what was important, what we wanted to achieve is get to know one another's cultures, communicate, and of course, the role of technology was a huge factor because every single lesson that we did was done virtually via Zoom. Okay. Many of our students are future educators, so that aspect of the pedagogy was often included, and sometimes we would do tasks and let them think about this from the perspective of a future educator. And this involved often group work. Group work was a very large part of the project because it was an oral proficiency course. We gave them plenty of opportunities to work in breakout rooms and to interact and get to know each other. David.
Okay, so here we see an excerpt of a video that I'll show you a bit in just a minute. And you also see an image of the author Chimamanda Ngozi Adichie. Maybe some of you are familiar with her and her idea of a single story. And she's basically the figure that we work with to discuss some of these topics with the students. So it's always interesting to find out how COIL teams meet, and Karen and I both took part in the Erasmus training program, TEP. And we were then paired in this project and discovered that we had the similar ideas about teaching and a similar approach to teaching as well. So here's a scary picture from the from the pandemic lockdown, but despite this kind of played into this scenario, this COIL scenario, this online learning, being forced to work online, actually was a benefit for us. And I think it was also a positive thing for the students to have this kind of a light and something inspiring during this rather dark time. And over the years, there have been different reports about our projects. It's been well received at both of our institutions. On the left, you see the University of Potsdam, and on the right, you see Beit Berl College in Kfar Saba.
Okay, so as David mentioned, Adichie plays a really, really important role. She's a storyteller, she's a writer, and she talks about the single story, which besides the getting to know you aspect at the beginning, we use that as talking about the students sharing their single stories. Okay. And the whole, also the idea of stereotyping. She says power is the ability not just to tell the story of another person, to make it the definitive story of that person. And here you can just see an example of one of the many brainstorming sessions when we used to meet and plan at the beginning stages. And of course, even now, we're still making changes and improving our lessons.
So at this stage, I'd like to share an excerpt of the video with you. This was one of the project tasks the students discussed in groups about what the single story, what the project means to them, and they reflect upon this. So hopefully this will go. Do you see this video? Are we okay?
Now, what Adichie has taught me is that the media often gives us a distorted image of reality on different people, nations, cultures, etc. We all have single stories about certain things, if we like it or not. What is important is to keep in mind that they are not fixed. We can and should always try to get different perspectives about a story or an image we once saw. Now, how is this relevant to this project? Online collaborative learning with people of different nationalities or cultures helps us fight against the stereotypes we have built. And meeting and exchanging with people, we get to know their perspective on things. We see how they really are and how their life looks. So in result, our image we had built is constructed in a new way. Our single story becomes a multifaceted story. And what is even more wonderful is what we can do with this experience. We can share our experiences with other people and make them overthink the single story they had in mind when thinking about Israeli people, for example. As prospective teachers, we can tell young children about our experiences and prevent them from evolving a single story themselves. And in the end, we see that there are even more similarities between us than differences that matter. We do not have labels people always talk about. We are not either German or Israeli. Instead, we are all humans. We are all amazing people that want to have a great time on Earth, right? So this project has given me an entirely different view on life through the single stories. It has shown me how easy it is to combat a single story we had in mind about as a people. And it has also shown me how we are somehow all the same.
Well, I think.
Okay, so we'll get to the second video in such a second. I think Caroline did a wonderful job of not just summarizing the single story and what it means, but also expressing, reflecting on this, how it impacted her. So it was a very uplifting video to see.
So here you can see the example of the document of the codes of behavior, which is really something very important that we do right at the beginning. This year we got each institution, we had the students fill in, and then we got the students to compare each other's codes of behavior. And this is just such an important basis for those of you who've done such projects will understand what I'm talking about. And as I said earlier, a lot of group work, breakout rooms, and on the line of the stereotypes, here's an example of some of the questions that we posed for the students to share and discuss in their breakout rooms, and of course, giving the importance of giving them choices.
So this is just an example of, so like in the previous project we saw, but this video project where the students come together and do the assignment, and they record their discussion, and then they are evaluated in terms of content, presentation, and fluency. And then also just we've given them different choices of different tools that they can work with. Here's Linuit on the right. One thing that's a lot of people are concerned about when they start a COIL project is trying to find a shared platform, or the lack of a shared platform. At the University of Potsdam, we have an open access Moodle where it's easy for people, other institutions to use, but one group is always at a disadvantage because it's still an extra login for the Baypro students. So we do not work with a shared platform any longer.
So here is an example of a collaborative online activity where the students shared their ideas, their main points in a Google Doc. And what's relevant here is the question asking, or the questions asking them how they could transfer these ideas and adapt them in their teaching experiences. At the end of the project, as part of the feedback and reflection that we did with the students, we used the idea of packing a suitcase, of going traveling. So that's the metaphor, suitcases from this course. What would you pack in the suitcase? What would you take with you? And what would you leave behind? And after we did that, we gave them a Linoet activity after they discussed this in their groups. And this was also used as part of the discussion where they chose images, they uploaded images to show what the experience meant to them. And again, further discussions took place. And I think here a picture paints 1,000 words. You can have a look at that quickly.
Right. So how can this tie into the internationalization strategies? Because of time, we'll just go through this very quickly. We started with a lesson about Israel, not just about Israel, but studying abroad in Israel. So also stereotypes of Israel, but also then what can I expect if I were to study at an institution in Israel? And then we followed up with the same thing about something about studying in Germany and also stereotypes of Germany. But the focus was, if I were to study in that country, what can I expect? So it was a motive, perhaps trying to motivate students to think about studying abroad. And then this is just one of the examples of the group discussion that we did. Again, the single story ideas, also different stereotypes. And this was one of the students who presented in that project. And also this idea, this isn't exactly internationalization, but this idea of being taught by not just your own teacher at your own institution, but this team teaching, getting feedback from both teachers on your work. So I think this is something that's different that COIL brings to a student's experience. And this is maybe Karen, if you want to go over the results.
So it's an oral proficiency course, as I said in the beginning. So one of the aspects that we were working on was accuracy, and we wanted to see from the students how much they felt it contributed to strengthening. So you can see the results are pretty encouraging. And these are from 2 different years. Okay. The results from 2 different groups, 2 different years of doing the project.
And this is also for the intercultural competence, which isn't actually a goal of the course, but we just wanted to see as well, what do the students think? How do they feel they've developed in this area? And it's also very positive. And then just some different feedbacks, key competences, and also just this implicit intercultural competence of development of those skills, and also just the feeling of being more confident in speaking in English. And Karen, maybe you can just share about what that means for your students and for the Arabic speakers in your...
Yeah, I have a large population. The German students are always very surprised that there's so many Arab students in our group. Some of them have the, single story that Israel's full of Jewish people only. And many of those people in the population, well, not many, but some of them are not able to travel abroad. So the feeling is that through this course, they traveled abroad without really having to travel abroad, which for them was an exciting experience. And here you can see the diverse group. And in the bottom right-hand corner with the headscarf is Riman. And Riman is a Bedouin lady, and she was the first person in her community to study at a higher institute of learning, get a degree, and it was something special just for her, not just for her family, but also for her entire community. and today she's a teacher.
And we'd just like to close by showing a very, very brief video statement of Rehman.
I think that this project was very helpful for me. Maybe because before I am being an Arabic, I am a Bedouin, so the language is different in here. So nobody in my house or even in my neighborhood is speaking English. So it was a challenge for me to learn this language and so on. And I really recommend my future students, my future kids, and so on to, if they want to learn English, they need to love it, and they need to speak with native speakers. It's very helpful, actually. And yeah, I think this was an amazing project, and I am so happy with it. Thank you.
So thank you very much.
Thank you, David and Karen, for the presentation. Again, yeah, I'm doing it like this. Thank you very much. And now we are coming to the last project, also linked to Israel. And David mentioned it already. Projects are coming up on many different ways. And I think my colleagues perhaps also might add something. Our project also started with Israel. That was, I would say, by chance. We met some years ago. We have a strategic partnership with the Hebrew University of Jerusalem, and Raya Fischer is the director of the Language Center. And so this basically came up by something my three colleagues here represented will explain now.
Okay, thank you very much. So I will share the presentation. Okay, can everyone see okay? Okay. So yes, there are four of us, and Ruth asked us to present, and I will get started, and Nadia and Alix will join in. There is a lot to say, and we could look at it from many different angles in terms of the logistics of such a project, you know, and going back to the rationale, the objectives, the pedagogy. So for today's session with a limited time, we decided to focus more on generalizing a little bit about the factors that go into it and the factors for success, thinking also about the discussion that we could have together in the breakout rooms. But if you have further questions about the contents of the course itself and more about the pedagogy, we'd be glad to discuss in any forum. So we'll just try to go through this quite quickly, but to share our motivation for this project and our particular context, also what can be learned from other contexts. And as I said, working on the factors, only briefly the concept, very briefly the outcomes, and what we learned from it, and what we hope that you can take for any future projects that you wish to do. So I think, you know, the point is clear. We're all discussing COILs here, but really we saw the kind of the greater potential post-pandemic with internationalization at home being high on the strategic list of many institutions. As was mentioned by our colleagues just now, also we have a lot of students going on exchange, but at the same time, we have a lot of local students who cannot go on exchange, including Palestinian students for various reasons. So internationalization at home is really important. Also, just to emphasize, and we'll emphasize this throughout, that we are language centers, we are language teachers. We could have chosen to teach, let's say, a so-called standard Hebrew/German course, but we decided to go for an intercultural joint learning experience and to make that really the concept, where we use language as the tool and as something that is inseparable from the culture, but it's not led by, let's say, A1 German outcomes, but by intercultural outcomes. And then we experience in both languages the concepts. And we'll give an example of the course themes. And just to mention that in our context, we were very lucky to have a lot of support for this partnership. We also have a strategic partnership, as Ruth said. There is funding involved. There is a lot of institutional support on both sides, and these are very significant factors. Also very significant that we could find a way to give credit on both sides to make this a course within the curriculum, which is, of course, a huge advantage in terms of really generating interest and getting people to prioritize such a course. We're also fortunate to have relatively similar academic calendars, being able to work an intensive course into our semester breaks, which was also very significant. And there is interest in both languages, although, as we say, we'll also say this again maybe at the end, but you can imagine that the interest in Hebrew and in German, for example, is not symmetrical in terms of, at the institutional level. Okay, so again, just to try to focus on factors more than on content, and we'll share the slides with you, and you can see a little bit of the content, of course, as well. So there are a lot of considerations. So just to go through them quickly, to first think about the academic program. So we had to give a proposal, get approval for the format, for the credits, for the teaching assignments, etc. To think about our target audiences, to think about timing, how to advertise, how to generate interest, how to work everything about the registration and credit within our programs, and to have the students prepared for this joint experience, first of all at each institution and only later together. There are, of course, financial aspects. So if we are 4 teachers teaching a course together, obviously that is financially not ideal for the institution, and we have to think how to do this. So here we had also support thanks to the partnership of our institutions, and a lot of preparation time, thinking about, in our case, we also prepared together on site because it is really very tiring, even though we are working so much online and it's the purpose to really utilize the platform. It's very difficult to plan a course from scratch for people only on Zoom. So we also wanted to work in person, and of course that was much more efficient. And also to have support staff at the pedagogical level and the technical level. In terms of the pedagogy itself, so we're just getting into details just because it illustrates to those interested who haven't experienced this yet how much work is involved once we start to think about the syllabus requirements, the grading method, how this is perceived on each end. It's also very different cultures within academia. How much communication is involved before the course, during the course, after the course. Thinking about the methods of assessment, how to get good formative and summative assessment into this with an intensive course, with students who are maybe within their exam period. In other words, many challenges. And at the technical level, as was mentioned also by other projects, having to work with platforms in different institutions will always be challenging, and maybe more than one expects. And this also requires the technical support staff, and also the openness, the open-mindedness of the institution, because sometimes there is a certain rigidity within the systems, within the regulations, and it makes things a little bit tricky. And then just to say that this all has to be synchronized, also all of these different levels, and also between the 2 institutions. So if on one end things are working quite smoothly, but the other institution we are facing some challenges, it will be very difficult to promote such a project. Okay, there's a lot of information here, which you can look at afterwards also on the slides. So just to emphasize that we saw language and culture, as we said, as really inseparable, and experiencing cultural through language, that we did not take standard language outcomes, but more cultural outcomes or intercultural outcomes, whether from the 2020 CFR mediation, descriptors, and so forth, and also from the FREPA framework that we found very helpful. And this means also that because our time was very limited, it was very important for us to really work with reverse engineering, with backward design in a very strict sense, because if it was a 10-day intensive course and we kind of start from the beginning and get to somewhere, we would have not gotten very far. And we really insisted on defining where we wanted to be after only 10 days. And we're very, very selective in terms of the language topics. So they were really derived from our intercultural competence objectives. Okay.
Alex?
Yes. So as Chaya said, that we used a reverse engineering strategy to build this course. So here are some of the topics that we talked about with the students, and we try to select topics that would expose our students to as many cultural aspects as possible. And then once we had those topics, we tried to break them into linguistic competence, and we try to think of the linguistic tools that students would need to acquire for each of those topics. And in accordance with the level that they would reach by the end of the course, obviously, they would still be beginners. So the list of topics was limited, but still we try to select a panel of cultural aspects. And yes, this is how we proceeded, basically. And on the next slide, maybe, yeah. So here you have like the schedule of our course. I won't enter into too many details because, as you can see, it was very, very intense, a very packed program. But basically, in the morning, we would meet for 45 minutes with Ruth in order to give students some intercultural input. And then, like it was with the whole groups, I mean, both of the groups from the Freie Universität and from the Hebrew University. And then after that, they would have their language sessions with Nadia and Chaya for the German and the Hebrew classes. And then in the afternoon, every 2 days, they would meet for a synchronous session where they could put into practice their language skills that they had just acquire in the morning, and also to do together some intercultural workshops and yeah, to talk about cultural aspects and together. Yeah.
Okay, so I'll pass on to Nadia to go into a little bit of
Yes,
details and examples. Yeah.
Yes, so I'll give you a little taste of the course curriculum and outcomes. So as Chaya mentioned already before, the course concept is reverse engineered. So we thought first of all, we thought about where do we want to get the students as well. So we started by defining the learning outcomes with regard to the CEFR and the FREPA. First more general, and then while going into deeper course planning, more and more detailed as well, so that at the end we had also learning outcomes for each session. And what you can see here is the course certification, which we for the students in the end, there we summarized the learning outcomes. And this course certifications also, it was actually at least an important aspect for the students at Freie Universität Berlin. They needed this kind of certification also with credit numbers and so on, to get for the recognition of credit points for their studies later as well. And then we can see here the final task for the students. This final task also reflects the learning outcomes, or it brings together both the language and intercultural part, or we tried to bring it together. The students were supposed to write a role play by imagining that a peer, like from the partner university, is visiting the family or his or her family, and they have a family dinner. And then they should write a role play, and including some speech acts we have learned throughout the course. They needed to, or they were supposed to do a reflection in English, also to include a reflection in English about maybe like a misunderstanding that could happen during the family dinner, during the conversations, or any problem that could occur, something like that. And on the other sheet, you can see two of the results. The first one is one of the German result that came out of this. What you can, and yeah, now it's Hebrew as well coming. What you can see is that the students, for me, it was very, very impressive that the students could already use the target language in this really broad way already and reflect it as well. So it was really, really good to see in the end after 10 days. Yeah. To get there, within this short period of time, our program was constructed quite intense, not only for the students, also for the teachers, I would say. Independent study and homework was also a very important part to make the students so that the students can make significant progress every day. I mean, maybe we can listen to two examples. Chaya, what do you think?
Yeah, I think our time is a bit short, so we'll send everything. Just maybe we'll have to go a little bit more quickly, but we can share with you afterwards. But just what we wanted to show was that every day they learned a lot.
Yes, yes. And we also tried to keep it interesting. So we made use of different platforms and tools which allowed the students to interact in various ways and to get to know each other better every day. I don't know, how much do I need to hurry? We have, let me see, 3 minutes.
Okay, I'm just going to skip ahead. Sorry, I stopped the share for a minute so it's easier.
Yeah. And as our basic thought was, as Chaya mentioned already, for the course was and course construction was that concepts of culture and language are inseparable and interwoven. So we transferred this thought also to the classes. So that means that we always created links and the different parts were aligned with each other. Yeah, that's it for this part.
Great, thank you very much. So we really had a lot of different types of assessment, which was also part of learning to work together from the different institutions, different expectations also of what ongoing tasks look like and what kind of feedback is provided. And also hearing from the students, not only after the course, but throughout the course. So because it was the first time we did it, it was also important for us to check with the students where they're at every single day and to get reflections during the course. So here we can see an example of results from the survey. Okay, and what students got from the course. Again, we'll share the slides with you so you'll be able to see more of the details on your own. If I go back, to where we started, the factors that went into it, what we think are important factors for success. So really the collaboration between the two institutions, it's really two teachers can have a lot of good intentions, but we really need support on different levels to work a course into the curriculum, the financial support, the tech support, allowing the teachers to have maybe an extended assignment for this course, etc. The idea of balancing also the interest between the institutions. So we didn't have exactly an equal amount of students, which was fine. We could work in groups where maybe there were 2 students from Israel and 1 from Berlin and no problem, but just to think about balancing. The course, as was already mentioned, was quite intense, but it's also the price of maybe having an intensive course, and many students appreciate it. They can be in such an intensive process and get the credits in such a short amount of time, so they recognize that it's intense and it's a trade-off. It's also very important maybe when we talk about intercultural and ongoing assessment, maybe for some students it's not always clear enough to be able to say exactly what they learned. But if we go back to the certificate that Nadia presented, it could be very well explained, but it's important also for them to have tangible outcomes, to have things that they can see and feel and remember from the course. Yeah, I mean, we've mentioned, I think, most of these points, and I think Alex and I are still confused by the grading system in Berlin to say that it's really an intercultural issue. We have a quick example of informal feedback from students, okay, which you can have a look at also afterwards. But really, the students were very sweet. They got along really well. They had great discussions also in their synchronous time. And they were able to reflect also on the differences and on how open they are to different issues and the style of speaking and everything, which is part of the course itself, of course. So if we want to replicate such a model, if we want to use it as a prototype for other contexts, just to think about the sustainability, there's a difference between the support that we received for building something for the first time and for maintaining this in the long run, for having extended teaching assignments, like our example for 4 teachers is not something that can be taken for granted. Again, integrating into the curriculum, students receiving credits, prioritizing within different programs of study. In terms of incentives, it may be helpful to think about a kind of a micro-credentials direction, a certificate maybe for this course if it doesn't fit into the curriculum for this type of course. Scalability, if we want to work with multiple languages, multiple partners, it's very resource intensive. So how do we do this? And also thinking, of course, about the students, it was wonderful, but it's a lifelong learning type of context, and yet we met for such a short time. So it wasn't clear to us, at least for the first time, how to gain enough support and funding for a physical visit related to this course, how to have maybe some follow-up, how to support the students in keeping in touch, maybe via tandem. So these are some of the questions that we asked for the next time. And the next time that we'll be running this course is again this year. With the current challenges that we face here, we hope that it will be possible. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Raya.
These are our students.
Yeah. Yeah. Thank you very much, Raya, Alex, and Nadia for the presentation. And now I think we're still more or less in time. It's 5 minutes. And now we're going into the breakout rooms. Yeah, and as we thought it would be easier, we already distributed you in the breakout rooms. And Mia was so kind. Thank you very much, Mia, here for the technical support as well. And yeah, you know, we'll now go into breakout rooms. I've seen there are some people who haven't been registered, so they don't have a breakout rooms. Please talk to Mia, and I just will shortly present. You see the leading questions. Basically, as can you see it? Yes. Okay.
Yes.
Basically, we have the political issues we already discussed, and what I've also given in the description of the webinar, the political issues, how this format can be sustainably integrated in the internationalization strategies. So because we have here a mixture of people coming from different responsibilities within the universities. While this idea of a modular framework is thinking very, very much ahead, and I think the president of CercleS also has her word to say in that. And of course, I've taken your comments out of the Google form, the pedagogical and organizational questions, and it's all what you mentioned there: project development, assessment, course design, intercultural awareness, linking language skills to intercultural communicative competence, and English as a medium of instruction. On the technical level, we have tools and data security, of course. That's also a huge issue. So basically, these are the points, the leading questions. I've put them in the chat as well. And now I would say we have until 5:35, if it's this is okay with Sabina, yeah, to discuss in the 3 groups. And yeah, we'll see you then at 5:35 to get the results, and I hope you all will have a fruitful discussion. We have 3 groups, as I said. David, the host of the first group, Stephanie is the host of the second group, and I'm the host of the third group. So seeing you soon.
Mia.
Hello.
Hello. Yeah, I'm glad that yeah, you helped. So
Oh, it's okay. And I just I put everybody in a room.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I had also posted this policy paper when I thought everybody was here. So I hope the slide and it was reposted in a different format by Ruth. So, but I think, and then moreover, the chairs also have it on their slides.
But if you want I can broadcast. There is this broadcast option. I can send material to the groups also, but I suppose
I
it's
think
okay.
it's okay now.
Yeah.
What we should do, because some of them mentioned that they are going to share their slides, so perhaps we can just also put into the chat, but only to the speakers to I mean, once they come back, that they have the message. Or I can say it, yes. Also, please put into the chat. I can also say it.
Okay.
The slides, yeah.
What do you think? It's recording this part also, because you and me were not in the breakout rooms.
It's also recorded.
This, yes. You and me. Yes, our discussion now.
We should cut it out then. I think San is going to do the.
I think I can pause it also.
You can pause it, yes. But anyway, she will cut it.
Yeah. I'm thinking that for the conversion, it's going to take more time. It took.
Yes, you can pause it now. You can pause it now.
Maybe I can pause it and then I need to remember to record. Yes.
There aren't all the groups back yet. So welcome back. I think, Ruth, you're going to chair the reporting part.
Yes, exactly. Is everybody there again? David, you want to start, please? 5 minutes? Or who wants to present in your group? You can, I think as a host, I think you can share your slides.
Okay, can you see our document?
Yes, it's a little bit.
Yeah, it's the dark mode, so here.
Yeah, it's November.
Okay. Yeah, exactly. Okay, so these are just some ideas that we had. Financial aspect, there was a question about the financial aspect because some projects have had some financial support, others not. And there was this comment that intercultural competence, that the institutions want this and expect that this is delivered to the students, but it's not necessarily part of the curriculum. And this is just basically often ends up as a task of the language center. And this also ties into motivation, but designing this long-term investment, that the people who volunteer their time and say, I really want to do this, it's super, but it's then hard to get additional instructors on board. What do they get out of this? Or even if additional instructors are needed, the financial means to get this support. And then also not be even thinking about the financial aspect first, but then how can it be done and who will the partners be? And then this idea of internationalization strategy, we had a good idea, and from the group, that this virtual exchange could be incorporated into Erasmus programs, sort of as an onboarding for students coming to the university, so that they become aware of intercultural challenges and also have some sort of connection to the institution before they come. Also, this idea of using European university alliances, strategic partners, to focus, to try to find institutions that COIL projects could be developed with. And then Hayat was talking about micro-credentials and then mentioned this link from Erasmus about micro-credentials. And this idea of maybe a supplementary certificate via COIL, like an international internship or language or tandem. And by completing these micro-credentials, that a student could get a badge or some sort of supplementary certificate. So modular framework, there was this idea of, are there any risks involved in making this required for students? Might some students not be open to this sort of format? And then also this idea of motivation for teachers. We have a COIL officer from the Free University that was discussing with us, how can they motivate students, but also instructors to do COIL, to develop COIL programs. Then also the idea that it's so bottom up, which is on the one hand very good. People are interested in doing this, want to do this, but then what a little bit top down is necessary, that the institution needs to commit itself to this format. If they want it to happen, then they need to foster it somehow, and then so maybe some by benchmarks or something. And then we're just talking about some additional comments about a pluricultural approach to teaching, and that the groups in the projects in the different countries, the groups themselves are also very heterogeneous. And then also, what about course sizes? Is it limited? And how that might affect the delivery of content and learning. And that also for larger groups, asynchronous input might be necessary. And then also the idea of the CercleS focus group to promote COIL in language programs, how that could be then developed. So.
Well, thank you very much. I think that's already a very, very concrete project to have a COIL group within CercleS. So one idea being placed here. Thank you very much. The second group, and this was before the time, so we saved some time. Great. Thank you, David.
Yes.
Yeah. Stephanie?
So Sabine will do it. We just
shared my screen.
Right.
We put all the questions together because we were like getting back and forth. So our first point was that somehow COIL will be sustainable if it's able to, if you are able to put it on a curriculum and about credits for it. If it's not possible, then of course we work with awards, we work with micro credentials or badges. That's the same idea what you presented, David. If we are able, so we had one person in the group who said we started with this. We put it in an already existing module, and it saved us a lot of time and effort. So we changed one existing model to a COIL model, and I found this idea very interesting because we in Darmstadt we are now on the point to creating a new module for it. And then we were discussing also the workload for the people who are involved in this project, which is, everybody agreed, it's a lot, it's very high. And so there was also the idea to get support from an already experienced partner, that this helped the institutions a lot and saved a lot of time. Then there was the idea, this question, how to put COIL on the agenda of an institution. And in one case, the president supports the idea and pushes it, which is a very lucky case, I guess. And the other idea was like the bottom-up approach with dedicated teachers who integrate it in their classrooms and start from there. And there was also the observation that the more COIL projects you do in an institution, the easier it gets because you really learn from your experience. And then we talked a little bit about the content, that these older projects had some cultural competence part, which seems to be really rewarding. And the ideas of this plurilingual city, and you make videos of it, you go through it, could also be used for social media afterwards, and also be an idea which helps towards sustainability. So I don't know, my group, did I wrap it up okay? Or is there something I'm left out? No. Okay, then thanks a lot.
Wer auch immer gerade spricht, ich kann nicht hören.
Okay, thank you. So maybe I can just speak through some of the ideas that came out, looking back at some of the questions that were put there in terms of sustainability, in terms of some of the pedagogical and organizational questions that we had. In terms of sustainability, perhaps one of the things that came out that was more important was that that COILs require a lot of work from teachers, and that therefore having perhaps a COIL coordinator can be a good idea insofar as the know-how that is developed within institutions doesn't go away when that particular enthusiastic teacher goes away. That some of the things that were mentioned, getting the technical support, getting the financial support, etc., can also be coordinated centrally within an institution. Other things that came out were that COILs can also, they require a lot of work, but they can also be a way, although many COILs happen in English is a lingua franca, that they can also give visibility to other languages. And so in terms of thinking in terms of us working within language centers, I think this is an important aspect. COILs don't have to happen in English, and we saw some excellent examples here of COILs happening in German. That one of the difficulties can be convincing institutions that COILs are important and can be done. Eve from Berlin mentioned the fact that one of the things that they're trying to do within their institution is convince their institutions to make COILs or virtual exchange experience a compulsory component for every student in 5 years' time. So that can also be a way of institutionalizing virtual exchange within an institution's internationalization strategy. And we also mentioned, Monica also mentioned the important, no, it wasn't Monica, it was Alix, mentioned the importance of showing students or introducing students to intercultural issues before they actually talk to each other, so that that they have an understanding of what intercultural communication can be before they their virtual exchange. I think that was some of the things. I'm just reading through the notes. There was also mentioned right at the end in terms of funding, the possibility of blended intensive programs, BIPs, which can also be a way of funding, and it goes back to some of you mentioning that COILs can be organized within university alliances. And within university alliances, you can have BIPs also that can bring together and make these projects more sustainable. I think that's, oh, and the last thing was the need for a good framework for sustainability in language centers. So making sure that language centers can, for example, provide credit-bearing courses. Yeah, I think this was one last point that was made.
Yeah. Thank you very much. Seeing language centers as providers also of this new structure, so to say, and being able to, as language centers, being able to develop also pedagogical and didactical projects in this way, not seeing only as language providers in some way. Thank you very much. So basically, if there are no questions left, I would hand over to Sabina for the final words for the workshop and for the next steps.
Could you perhaps stop the slide sharing, please, so that we can see one another?
Then I will see you. Okay.
That was great. That was really great. That is what CercleS is all about. So during the time in your breakout rooms, I was chatting with Mia, and two of us are from the executive committee, and we keep fighting also for time, for resources. And I have also thought that, well, CercleS is what COIL is, perhaps without, or the O in brackets is what should happen among language center managers and teachers, and what COIL should then also enable to experience students. So just before I wrap up more on a content level with some ideas for future collaboration, please do not forget to put both your slides of presentation and the slides of the report of the discussion groups into the chat. So we will put everything together. We will integrate also your feedback on the groups from the group discussions into the slides Ruth prepared, and then we will also transform everything into PDFs, also your presentations about your projects, and we'll make it accessible to the CercleS community. This is one thing. Material is being presented, it's not enough. Of course, as you know, this apart from the part in the breakout rooms, this webinar has been or is being recorded and will also be made accessible to CercleS members on our YouTube channel. Well, some ideas from my side. We are going to have our next international conference, as many of you hopefully already know, next September in the UK, still Europe, although we have Brexit, and the call will soon go out. The call will soon go out, and we very much encourage from the CercleS side also that a lot of colleagues can participate. There are scholarships. We subsidize the fees. There are also scholarships or some, scholarships for transport. So we really want people to come. There will also be some hybrid activities. So you will learn about the conference also through our newsletters, through information being given out by CercleS. One idea could also, two ideas could also be to run a workshop at the conference about these formats, and also with some colleagues, perhaps with some preparation tasks. As somebody mentioned, I think David mentioned the focus group. Well, the focus groups are about people creating a focus group. So it's not the president or the secretary general, but if you feel like doing this, this could be good. We could also think about that. We can always help, I mean, on a platform level, but it's about people doing things, putting together buddy groups, or for people who want to start such a cooperation. So there's also already a lot of information being available through this webinar, and based on your slides and all the links where one can get support. But then once people start doing something, they are going to have questions. Yes, so perhaps creating even before creating a focus group, doing some matchmaking of colleagues who want to start something, bring them together with colleagues who are experienced. That would be within the CercleS spirit also. Yeah, that's what I wanted to say. I really want to thank everybody once again, Ruth, all the colleagues, all the speakers, all the project participants who were also here, and even without presenting, all the colleagues interested in COIL who attended this very inspiring workshop. The ones who did not will regret, but they will catch up a little bit by watching the material, watching the video and going through the materials. Yes, we will think about how we could perhaps kind of launch such a buddy system. And if you have ideas about how to do that, you can always approach us. You can approach Ruth and she will reach out to us. You can reach out to us directly. We are very happy to enable, to facilitate also COIL on a interinstitutional level. So thanks a lot. And I don't know if anybody wants to add something. Otherwise, please don't forget about your materials, putting them into the chat, and looking forward to COIL experience.
Sabina, you said if you have any ideas, my suggestion, I don't know, it's up to you to decide, but the idea would be to organize a speed dating event where you could actually invite interested parties with a very short introduction what COIL is, and then doing breakout rooms and finding partners.
Yeah, that's a good idea. Yeah. Does it find some support among the speakers? I see some nodding. Okay.
I think David still has a...
Yes, just 2-second plug, and I'm posting it into the chat. Deborah Schechter from the Tel Aviv University attended this webinar earlier. She's going to be presenting a webinar on positive psychology for language teachers on November 30th. I put the flyer in the chat. If you're interested, please do join.
Yeah, sounds interesting. We need positive psychology for positive language, intercultural communication. Yeah. Any other short message to colleagues you want to take profit of for sharing now? No.
Maybe Sabina, can we mention the webinar that will be held next Friday, the 24th of November. I don't have the flyer with me, but CercleS together with UNITAR and Dublin Technology University will be running this webinar dedicated to language education for sustainable development. It's a different topic, but also, I believe, a very important topic. And I'm pretty sure that you have received from CercleS General Secretariat all the information and the link in the newsletter that was sent a week ago.
Yeah, thank you, Carmen. Yeah. It will take place on the 24th of November.
Yes.
Right? For 16 CET. Yeah. Okay. So thanks again, and I wish you all a very nice evening, and looking forward to meeting again. Bye-bye. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thanks a lot.
Goodbye.
Bye.
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 Bye, everybody.